Hi everyone, it's Mr. Watu here again. Um, Here to talk about 5.2 for RC, which is understanding the elements of a realistic fiction passage. So the objective of this part of the unit is students can understand the elements of a realistic fiction passage. So to understand this, let's go over the guide table that we have in the beginning of the RC. So the objective of this part of the unit is students can understand the elements of a realistic fiction passage. So to understand this, let's go over the guide table that we have in the beginning of the RC. So here's the table for the realistic fiction elements. Characters are usually ordinary, relatable people, real people, so no magic characters here like the fantasy fiction. Setting is usually a realistic setting, so contemporary. Modern usually can be anytime, anywhere, easily believable setting. So it could be a school, it could be at home, could be at work. Again, the plot is usually believable. It doesn't involve any fiction or fantasy elements like dragons or magic. It's usually a realistic problem like being late or being hungry and trying to solve that problem. So the book I've chosen is to help us with this is another Robert Munsch book. It's called Get Out of Bed. Here's a link to the book, guys. You can check it out on YouTube. Um, you'll see the stories about a girl who falls asleep and would not wake up. So we see immediately the characters are ordinary, real people. It's a dad, brother, the girl who's the main character, Amy. Uh, Very regular people, and the sort of the problem that they have is Amy has fallen asleep and she won't wake up. It's hinted it's because she watched too much TV the night before and she's gone to bed, and at breakfast, father, brother, mother, they're all looking for her and she's in bed. So the brother says, I can get her up. So the brother runs up the stairs, excuse me, but he never gets her to wake up. So he fails, and we see a pattern starting to emerge the second time. The dad goes up and he tries to wake Amy up in the sternest father voice, you know. But obviously it didn't work, so what happens next? You can guess. The mom tries to go and wake Amy up. So the mother goes up and tries to wake her up in her sweet and kind mannered way, but that doesn't work either. And then we see the sort of dilemma of everybody come together now. And this is where you see the realistic element and fiction element mixed together. Father says, oh no, I have to go to work. Brother says, oh no, I have to go to school. And mom says, oh, I have to go to work too. And the brother suggests, what can I do with the sleeping Amy? He says, let's take her to school in her bed. And this is where the sort of fiction and realistic element mixed together. So the family proceeded to sneak Amy into school in her bed. And later that day, the principal came in and noticed Amy. So notice the dialogue is still quite realistic. Um, Given the situation, Amy's in her bed in school. The principal still speaks with some realism. She says, what's going on here? I don't know, said the teacher. It's Amy. She will not get out of bed. No problem, said the principal. So it's still, quite realistic. She walked over and yelled at Amy as loud as she could, wake up! As you can see, the principal is frustrated that there's a student sleeping in her bed in school. So again, realistic stuff going on here. The elements are there. The theme of not waking up because you're in such a deep sleep. Principal being angry at you because you're at school asleep. And the author has sort of clued us in that no one is really going to be able to wake Amy up, from the father, brother, mother, to now the principal. So during school, they try everything to wake her up. It doesn't work. They try during art, during lunch, during recess. Um, Lots of comical methods that you'll see in the video. Didn't work. So finally, it was time to go home. The principal says, call the parents, call the mother, call the father. They want to get rid of Amy because she's been asleep all day in her bed in school. So you can see there's quite a humorous angle to this sort of fiction here. And like the family sneaked Amy in to school on her bed, they had to take her home on her bed. And they all had dinner, except Amy. She was still asleep. Finally, after a whole day of sleeping, the next morning, we find out the only person that could have woken Amy up was herself. Because she woke up, she ran downstairs and said, I haven't eaten in years, and proceeds to eat. And here we sort of see the conclusion of our problem throughout the whole book. The dilemma was Amy's asleep and no one can wake her up. But here she is at the end of the book, awake, eating. So after sleeping for a whole day, Amy has a big breakfast. She goes back to school and she's greeted by the principal at the door. The principal asks her how is she feeling, and Amy says, wonderful, but I had strange dreams last night. I bet, said the principal. So here we sort of see a sort of twist building up for the end. Now the twist could be this. So after Amy walks around and tells everyone she's feeling fine, but she had weird dreams, and she gets to her classroom. Now we don't know if she's actually dreaming now or if this is real, but everybody in her classroom is sleeping in their bed. So it's up to you, the reader. Do you think it was a dream, or did they actually all come in and sleep on their beds? You can post this in your Google Classroom. Be glad to hear your comments. So to summarize, fiction, realism elements, or realistic fiction. The characters are usually ordinary people, as you can see in the story. It's just a family, and then the principal. Nothing like a wizard or science fiction, nothing like that. So, a realistic basis too. The settings were at home and at school for Amy. Plot is somewhat believable, bordering on humorous, because it turned out to be quite funny. Um, but the plot was generally Amy falling asleep and not waking up for a whole day, and they tried humorous ways to wake her up. The theme, the theme was again like a struggle of not being able to wake up. It's a bit on the funny side, not really good versus evil like we have in the table, but it was a dilemma. And the author used prediction or clues in a way where we sort of saw the build up from the brother not being able to wake her up to then the father trying very confidently, then the mother also failing. So we can see the build up there. Then there's a twist at the end where Amy says she's had strange dreams, and the final page is her classroom full of students sleeping in their bed. So we don't know if that's a dream, if that's a sort of a twist ending, but it was a good, interesting way to finish the story, unpredictable. So if you have any comments on the book, please leave them in the Google Classroom. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me whenever you want, and I'll try to reply as soon as I can. So hopefully I helped here. I'll see you guys soon. Hopefully everybody's taking care. Remember to wash your hands frequently. Okay, bye. So question number 1 for 5.2 is which of the following picks would be the best choice for the main character of a realistic fiction story? So bear in mind the elements of realistic fiction. They're usually ordinary, real people. They usually change as a result of a problem and must resolve it. You can find all this in the beginning of your RC, the realistic fiction elements table. So if we look at the questions, we can immediately sort of get rid of two questions, which is the magical girl, because in realistic fiction, we don't really have magic or supernatural things, as we've discussed before. So the real answer must be either A or C. Now, remember, fiction, it's still a story, so if it's a normal girl who has no problems in life, it might not make for a very good story. A normal girl who has a problem at her school, and then she works out the situation, seems to be a bit more interesting than C. But what do you think is the correct answer?